Honestly, one of the cooler aspects about Expedition 33 are the Axons, and sadly, the game and its story doesn't really elaborate on what they are, but if you go out to learn what they are, they're actually pretty cool. First, let's establish what an axon is. An axon is a being with a great amount of power and chroma, which alters the environment that they are in. That's why when you go visit the axons, whenever they're in their own land and territory, it is vastly different from everywhere else on the continent. Now, if that's all there was to the Axons, I wouldn't really care that much about them. But the thing that interests me about the Axons so much is that they're supposed to be the depiction of Renoir's hope for his children. We learned this in the Alicia fight, where Mael states the reason why the Sky Axon is the way that it is because it's supposed to be Renoir's depiction of her spreading her wings and soaring through the skies, letting her actually do what she wants to do, rather than to be stuck in her current place. The Mask Keeper is supposed to be Verso, but where it gets a little bit complicated here is the way that Renoir is depicting it. Because it seems to be that he wants Verso to be able to be his true self without having to put on a mask to just impress his mother or father to be a painter when all he really wanted to do was be an artist. And the reason that we know that this is Verso is because when Painted Verso gets a mask put on him, Verso says, "That was you, Verso, wasn't it?" Basically implying that this is Renoir's depiction of Verso. Now, the Siren is Clea, and we're not really given an exact thing that her axon is supposed to represent, but from what we can guess, it's her being free from the burden of trying to keep everything up by herself. The reason I say this is because Renoir says that Clea is fighting a solitary war and he doesn't want her to be doing that by herself. He wants her to be free from the burden of thinking she has to do this alone. That's why Clea, or at least the Siren version of her, has people always helping her out, because he has the hopes that his daughter won't be burdened to do everything by herself. Now that leaves one Axon, the one that died and the one that we know nothing about, the Axon of Old Lumiere. And from my personal opinion, it is probably Simon. Now, why would I say this? Well, if you read Simon's journal, you find out that him and Clea are in love. So much so to when the real Clea met Simon in the painting, she couldn't change him. She could only power him up because she couldn't bring herself to change Simon on that fundamental level, removing his will from him. This basically tells us that Clea could never change any iteration of Simon that she sees, most likely because she is deeply in love with him, meaning that they're husband and wife, and that she would never change any version of him, which would also make sense as to why Renoir made an axon of him. This also implies that narratively Simon killed his axon so he could find his Clea faster. But yeah, no, that's really about it. Hope y'all enjoyed, and let me know y'all opinions on the axons, because honestly, they're pretty cool.